Good morning, everybody. I think we're on day 3 of Arctic Frontiers. So, everybody, it's great. So many of you could be here this morning as we're now deep into the program. Welcome to our side event here at Arctic Frontiers 2026 on strengthening and sustaining Pan-Arctic cooperation. And what we're really here to explore today is how and why the European Union and Arctic municipalities and communities through the AMF and a very important project called the Arctic Urban and Regional Cooperation are really working together to make sure that local voices are being heard, not only in the EU, but across borders in municipalities, regionally, internationally, and of course, in the Pan-Arctic. What's great about the AURC project, which has been funded by the External Action Service of the European Commission, is that it also includes communities not only in Europe, but also in North America. So we have a number of communities in Alaska and Canada who also participate. So to start off, our session has a couple of different sections. We are going to start off with opening remarks from Claude Véran-Reville, who is the Special Envoy for Arctic Matters at the External Action Service. And then we're going to have a panel discussion that's going to take us through what's working, what's not, and what we wish for when when this cooperation comes under the AMF umbrella. So without any further ado, Claude, I'd like to invite you to the stage to provide us with some opening perspectives.
Yes. Morning sport. Is that okay? It works. So good morning, everyone, and happy to see you again. I hope you networked well yesterday. So just a few remarks to set the scene again from our European Union point of view. So, obviously, is the mayor of Tromsø here? No, he's super busy, no doubt. After he explained to us yesterday his very tight schedule, Prime Minister, on top of everything. So I'm really happy to be back to Tromsø, great city, but also I'm here not only to speak about the Arctic, but to really experience it and to listen and engage with you, who are those who shape the Arctic everyday life. And it's at a time like this when we realize the importance of solidarity and personal links. It's been said times and again throughout those days that the Arctic is experiencing a dramatic geopolitical and geoeconomic change. Obviously, the security dynamic is shifting. We all know that, but also the strategic competition is increasing, and interest in resources is growing, and this has consequences on your municipalities, as you mentioned, Karina, but several of you as well. Now, this new reality reinforces a fundamental truth that dialogue is more important than ever, and we hear at the External Action Service, our business is diplomacy, and diplomacy is dialogue. And when things go hectic, keep the dialogue and the channels of communication open. And that's what we must do together, and that's also what you're doing at your local level, transcending borders. It's extremely important. So we must strengthen together our practical cooperation when it serves our shared interest, but also our shared values. So this means that we need to stand firmly for the rules-based international order, and we must steadily defend the rights of those who live in the Arctic, including indigenous people. And these are not abstract principles. These are the long-term conditions for stability, security, and sustainable development. It would be ill-advised to think that security is only about military security. Security is about, I mean, nowhere like in Norway or Iceland do you hear that word more than whole of society security, whole of society defense. They use the word defense, but it's about resilience. And this is also what we stand for in the European Union. A security that encompasses also economic security, societal security, and of course, environmental security. So you have been at the forefront of this, and that means you are strategic actors in this environment because you are the cornerstone of resilience and security. So that's why strengthening cooperation between Arctic municipalities has been a priority for the EU. Now, 2 years ago, exactly in Tromsø, at the Arctic frontier, we launched this Arctic Urban Regional Cooperation. And at the time, it was a political commitment. So now it is the time for concrete delivery. 14 local municipalities from 7 Arctic states, Patty, you mentioned, are participating, and I can only applaud and encourage initiatives of some of you to recruit further municipalities. Ben, well done. So among other things, I mean, I won't get into what this cooperation has enabled because you are the ones who know best. But just a few days ago, the Interreg Aurora project was approved, and this is a new Interreg Aurora project, and it's a project about attracting and retaining youth and talent. And the beauty of this is that not only you are going to participate in this, but also the Arctic 6 University Network. So when the network and the network work together, it is mega network, and it makes a megaphone, hopefully, for attracting and retaining talent. The Arctic Urban and Regional Cooperation has been one of our best success stories. And I like that in that the EU support translates into practical cooperation on the ground. Our role has been simple: to enable, to convene, and to connect, to provide you with the administrative capacity. Our role was simple. Your role is important because you take it from there and you build this trust and you build this solidarity, just like all of you stood up in solidarity with the mayor of the Big Nook municipality. That's what trust is about. That's what solidarity is about. So what works grows. So I'm glad that we're moving on to the second phase of the Arctic Urban Regional Cooperation, which is now under preparation. We want to continue working closely with local stakeholders, and notably the Arctic Mayors Forum, dear Patty. And we want to strengthen its capacity and enhance its local ownership for a lasting impact and a lasting ownership. So it shows, this is an example that shows that what is possible when trust, policy alignment, and practical cooperation come together. Thank you very much.
To do some exercise to get up and down here today. Just stay
I need to jump
for a minute,
no?
Claude. I will help you down. But I thank you for bringing to the forefront that this collaboration is not only about the outputs for the project, but that it's really about building community across the borders. And I would love just to hear a little bit more about why you believe AMF is the right vehicle to bring this forward, and why you personally and also professionally sort of believe that local voices are the ones that really need to be brought up in support of all of the big things that are happening in the Arctic right now.
Okay. Why the AMF? I mean, so far you've proven you could deliver. So I hope you can continue to deliver. And the AMF, because it's really the example of a network which is the local level, and again, transcending borders. So the organization that you have built is unique and really appreciated. This is what we're talking about when we speak North-North cooperation, not just through the capitals. So you've built your base across borders, so it's very important. So far you've delivered. I look forward to you continuing delivering. Why the local level is important? I mean, I'm at governmental level. We speak government to government, central administration to central administration. We do our best to enable and maintain this dialogue, but there's just so much we can do at our level. Then comes the practical level, and what is important is that we are intertwined and our action goes in the same direction. So that's where we try to make the link with you. At the end of the day, again, I've said it, the resilience, it's the people who make it. You can send the armies, you can do military exercises, government can try to reinforce infrastructure, which is very important for connection and networking. But this is the local level that will create the reality on the ground and that will inform the central level about what the needs are and the possibilities are. So
Thanks for that. And I think that was demonstrated yesterday also at a very high level when the HRVP, Callis, she met briefly with the mayors to really show her commitment to listening not only on the big stages, but also to the local level and to the mayors who are closest to their citizens.
Absolutely. And she used the word resilience. She expanded in her speech security to resilience and the people. And that's what we mean.
That's great. Well, we look forward to delivering and continuing to deliver and growing even beyond the project that we're doing with you. So thank you so much, Claude, for your trust and for being here with us today.
Thanks.
We're going to move now to our panel discussion, and I will call up our panelists with no big long bios. Sorry, guys, but. Ben Hendrickson is the mayor of Yellowknife in Canada. Karina Samelli is the mayor in Luleå, Sweden. Julia Saljaseth is the international mastermind at Tromsø Kommune. And we have Elsa Berg, who is the mayor of Torshavn, and also AURC Olsen, who is the mayor of Sermersooq, and also the Arctic Mayors Forum chair for the Greenland chairship of the AMF. Good morning, everybody.
I'm also wearing my new T-shirt.
You're also wearing your new T-shirt. A slogan that I think we are all coming to know and love. So thank you for that, AURC. And I'm going to put the first question to you. Sermersooq is part of the Arctic Urban and Regional Cooperation Project, and I'm wondering how this project has benefited communities in Sermersooq. It's not just Nuuk in Sermersooq. You have a very large municipality spanning many thousands of kilometers and many different villages. So I'm wondering how this project has benefited your communities, considering the long distances between the towns and villages.
Yeah, thank you very much. Our municipality is on the size of France. It covers 4 towns from the west to the east and 5 villages. And we don't have roads between those. We have lots of ice, real ice. And it can be hard because our living conditions and living ways are very different from place to place. And we, as we say, the experts are where at the places. So we have local leaders who have joined conferences where you also share experiences with how they deal with different kind of crisis. And they have been sharing how they work with power outages or satellite disconnections and so on. And they have been sharing what they've been doing for a long time, but meeting others who also work with that kind of stuff gives an opportunity to actually create a language for what they do, and they can systemize the things that they do, and seeing it how others do it also helps understanding what good they do and what also is needed to be done, learn from the others.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I think it opens up for us just to go down the line quickly. And what I would like to hear from each of you is what you think is most needed from your international partnerships. So Yellowknife, Luleå, and Tromsø are all part of the AURC, but Elsa Torshavn is not. You have recently rejoined the Arctic Mayors Forum family, so there wasn't an opportunity for you to participate in the first cohort. But what do you see you need from international partners, and how can a collaboration project like this really benefit Torshavn and the communities that you represent?
Yeah, I can start off by the key points that are repeated on this very conference and that are, they are worth repeating, and they are that we are many different municipalities located in very different countries, but we are facing so many similar challenges, and I am a really strong believer that when we're facing the same challenges, and we also have been dealing with the challenges for so long, when we are collaborating, cooperating, and sharing our experiences, the solutions will be even better and also delivered faster. So for us, it's very meaningful both to share what we are doing, what we want to do, and get inspiration from other municipalities.
Thanks for that. Ben, what about, how are things in Yellowknife in terms of the international partnerships and things that you have either been inspired to do within this project or outside of this project?
Yeah, thanks for that. Are we on? Maybe we'll stop. Are we on? There we go. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those really interesting opportunities for Yellowknife for people who have no idea about Yellowknife or the Northwest Territories in Canada. Similar to Mayor Olson, is we are a massive landmass. So the Northwest Territories covers a landmass about the equivalent of Portugal, Spain, France, and Germany combined. Yellowknife is a very small municipality within that. But we're 25,000 people, which is just shy of 50% of the population of that territory. So huge landmass, very low population, but urbanized in Yellowknife's case. We also traditionally look south to our neighbors in southern Canada, predominantly Alberta, a little bit of British Columbia, and that's about it. If you've been to Canada, you'll know that the climate is very different in those places compared to somewhere like Yellowknife, where our winters, we often will hit minus 30 and below for 6 to 8 weeks of the year. You know, we're around minus 20 for many more months of the year than that. So our climate brings a very different background than a lot of southern Canada experiences. And so one of the things that our former mayor, Rebecca Alty, who is now a minister in the federal government, when she joined this, and you know, it's now I'm able to carry this on, it's that opportunity to not look north-south in the Canadian context, but for us to look as north-north. I've been saying east-west, but I love the north-north line more, so I'm going to start using that one, is to what are those things around housing issues, around, you know, new business opportunities, around new markets that are available to the Northwest Territories, to the businesses in Yellowknife, to a degree that because we're part of the AURC and the AMF, the 5 Nordic ambassadors to Canada came to Yellowknife 3 weeks ago to host a seminar with the municipality, not with the territorial government, not with the federal government in Yellowknife, but with the city of Yellowknife. And I think that's really the The interesting thing about this work is it's bringing those opportunities and bringing Yellowknife to the international stage in a way that most cities of 25,000 people in Canada don't get that opportunity. If you're a city our size in the rest of the country, you're lucky if you would hit the news every 20 years, and usually it's not for anything good in those cases. Whereas this is an opportunity to shine the positive light on Northern Canada, as the Prime Minister of Norway said during his opening or his keynote address this morning. There's more people who live in Tromsø than live in all of Northern Canada north of 60. So we are and can be very isolated in terms of our engagement with the rest of the world, and this is a platform for us to engage internationally, but also, as was noted, my ability then to talk to colleagues in other municipalities in Northern Canada and talk about the benefits that this organization and this grouping can bring to them as well in their communities.
Great. Karina, you have a bigger city. How big is Luleå?
We're 80,000 inhabitants.
80,000. So you're twice the size of,
Yeah.
4 times the size of Northwest Territories. So
Maybe three.
for population, but in a much smaller area. So how do you relate to Ben's, like to Ben's challenges when you're dealing with in like, or actually an urban center that is, in one place, not the size of France,
Well,
Germany, and Spain. What did you say? Portugal?
Portugal, Spain, Germany, and France.
Right.
The Northwest Territories.
So how do you cooperate with Ben, and what do you get out of that cooperation in Luleå?
First of all, I like to have friends, and in the world we exist in, I actually think it's a good thing to have friends. So that's like the first part about cooperation. You need to have friends somewhere, and you need to have friends to learn from. And if you want to learn from someone, you need someone who are a little bit the same as you are. Yes, Yellowknife is smaller than Luleå. Tromsø is the same size. Oulu is bigger. We have different sizes of our cities and communities in the Arctic. But what we all have, or most of us have, is that our capital city is outside of the Arctic. And every time we have a legislation coming up and we think about it, it's like, ooh, is this suitable for us? Because it's not. Usually it's not. It's like made for the bigger areas where a lot of the population lives down in the south. And then we start looking on, okay, how should we do this in our context? And then we need to learn something else. I actually had the possibility to go to Yellowknife. I also had the possibility to go to Fairbanks. And I was in Fairbanks and they said they couldn't have any windmills because it's too far north. And I'm like, ooh, I live further north. We have windmills. And they were like, do you? How do you do that? So it's actually, when every country is looking south within their country, they know it and look at the knowledge down south. But when we look north, then we see something else. And it's like, okay, you can do that. Probably we can as well. Maybe not exactly the same, but sort of the same. And we can learn and get inspiration from each other.
That's great. Julia, you are our only non-mayor on the panel this morning.
I have no ambition to become one.
Okay, good to know.
Be clear.
Good to know.
We'll tell Gunnar.
But what's great about the AURC is that there's opportunities for mayors to participate, but they are very busy people with many things on their plate. But it's really given the opportunity for experts to come together. So I'm wondering if you can just say a little bit about the impact that has had on your day-to-day job and why you feel this kind of cooperation is really important.
Yes, I'm an international advisor at the municipality of Tromsø. And first of all, I have to say welcome to the true north. And that's the slogan of the European Youth Capital of Tromsø in 2026. So it's an extra pleasure for me to welcome you in this way. But yes, I am representing an administrative level in this panel. And when I jumped into this project, it was almost from the beginning. And I've been around doing international relations in different places, so I kind of felt that I knew stuff. But being a part of this project really kickstart my job, because that was such a fantastic opportunity to regain the network on the city levels all around the Arctic. And usually us, like working with international relations, we're just one person, if you're lucky, at the municipality. And I am the only one at the municipality of almost 80,000 people. And so having this project and having the opportunity to meet with my colleagues, I actually got the whole team, the whole colleagues, peers to peers around the Arctic. So I don't feel kind of so lonely anymore. And also, I mean, the stuff that we've been discussing in the project, like shaping it, choosing the topics, choosing the directions, I felt that I really had something tangible to come with to my colleagues and ask the real questions. Is this what we want to do? Is this what we want to do? And kind of to engage the whole municipality in the international cooperation. And then bringing back the results of the study trip, stuff that I learned there. Again, like I felt I was contributing. So for my job, especially like being new at the municipality, that was really, really a nice kickstart. And I feel that I could engage with my colleagues at home. I have a big group of peers that I always can call and ask. And of course, the trust that we have among us is so important. And it also makes it so much easier for, like me, for example, if there's something I'm wondering about Luleå, I know whom to call and I get a quick answer and I get a good answer and stuff like that. So it was invaluable for me as an administrative and working in the municipality.
Yeah, and I also had the opportunity to come on a study visit to Umeå, and what struck me was this friends thing, which we sort of say, oh, that's like a side benefit, and how do we capture making friends as an output in a European Commission project? It's a challenge. We put it under resilience and preparedness, maybe, but what was interesting is that there's actually a desire to like hang out. Thanks, Claude. To hang out, and it's often we learn a lot on the study visits, but it's the side corridor conversations where often the ideas are sparked and knowledge is shared and results actually come from. So I'm going to ask you, can you give me an example? Maybe we can just stay with Julia and then move on to the rest of you, of what is an example of something that has directly come out of AURC that you're either using in your municipality or would like to use in the future?
We had several tangible results, like, for example, the cooperation that we have going with the tourist industry, because we've been talking a lot about tourism, and we are now at our municipality working at the development of the tourist strategy more in a sustainable way. So we learned a lot while we were in Luleå and Oulu. And I brought all those results back with me to my people at the municipality, and then Karina was following up with a visit, and there were a number of online meetings, and now we are invited back with our results and our experiences to share it with professionals in your place in summer. So, and also, I mean, like having all these contacts all the time, and that I'm kind of pulling my people at the municipality into this international conversation, it actually makes them much more aware that this is also the way of doing business. They don't have to be alone. They have others to share it with and others to learn from. So I think that was quite a nice example of how we use this project. And also, if I have time, I will have another one like Welcome House. It was one of the topics that we had in one of the site visits that we had during the project. And this is like the service that you provide to the newcomers of the city. We didn't have that, but now we've got a new position at the municipality. And you can be 100% sure I shared all the stuff that I learned on the site trips with the lady that's got this position, and she's been already in direct contact with people in Luleå and getting all the experiences from you guys because you've been doing it for a longer time. So and we are gonna build on that.
That's actually really impressive that there are things happening out of this project that are building capacity in the municipality, and it's not fanfare, it's not in the media, but it's actually happening for people who live in local communities. So, Ben, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one, as I mentioned already, is the visit from the Nordic ambassadors recently, again, directly connected to this, and the attention that Yellowknife has received through this work. Another significant piece in the current context, obviously, is security and sovereignty questions. again, for those of you who may not know Yellowknife, we are a strategic hub in northern Canada. So we're identified by the Canadian government as something called a Northern Operational Support Hub for the Canadian military and armed forces. And we have something called Joint Task Force North, which is based out of Yellowknife. And it's sort of the operational front of the Canadian Armed Forces and NORAD in North America. And so with everything that's going on, obviously, that is getting much more attention. And to the extent that recently, just last week, the Canadian government has come out with an initial statement of what could be spent in Yellowknife and Inuvik, which is another new AMF member, in the field of 5 billion Canadian dollars in the next several years, which, from a context of how wrapping our heads around that as a municipality, that's like the equivalent of opening a mine in our municipality, which hasn't happened in decades. And so that then links to the discussions, you know, of everything that's gone on in the relationships and the friendships, and being able to contact AURC, you know, in the current context and having those connections. So there's that friendship base, but also the strategic and security and sovereignty questions, and putting that all in real perspective. On two tangible pieces that comes directly out of the project, we're actually discussing at our council, well, it'll be noon in Yellowknife, but I'll be joining at 8 o'clock tonight, our council meeting, but we'll be looking at our new public engagement strategy. And that directly comes from work that, you know, learned from colleagues at AMF and through the AURC. And then on a personal level, one of the reasons I ran for council in 2022 was around active transportation issues and active transportation questions, and a city that I've kind of been obsessed with for years is Oulu. And so, you know, I've been in connection with the head engineer there long before I was mayor, and being able to then sit with the mayor of Oulu, you know, at dinners yesterday, and being able to talk about these things and make those connections is an obvious, you know, direct piece that comes out of this work. Being able to have those international connections is something it wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah. Aurora, can I turn to you?
I think besides what we are talking about, they are talking about something that's really important for local leaders, and that's exactly friendships, but also learning from each other. You become a much better mayor of meeting other mayors, and that's good for your local communities. And I think it's so underestimated, because it's just it makes you stronger. But back to the topic. I think it's important to say that projects have actually strengthened our municipality by professionally, but mentally and socially. Our staff has become a member of this trusted network, professional network that they can engage with, and it gives tools and knowledge to do the job they're doing even better, and it comes out to the public and to the community within the tools that they are learning. One of the quotes that I got from some of our staff who has joined this network, I'm gonna read it out because I could be able to say it better. She said, she returned with a stronger understanding that culture creates robust people and social resilience. This reinforced our own approach. Decisions and services must rest on cultural foundation to be sustainable. And I think it says it all.
Yeah, it does. And Hjördis, who's been on a few study visits, but she's well loved and fantastic, and we really, really appreciate her contribution to the project. So please give her our best. Karina, I'm going to turn to you. Elsa, I'm coming back to you in just a minute. But Karina, I was thinking that maybe you could say a little bit more about the Talent North project that Claude mentioned, because I think it's a really exciting output from this project and a tangible result. So tell us a little bit more about what that's going to do.
Yeah, one of the very concrete results of our cooperation is that we learned that we have the same challenges. And one of the challenges is to get people to live in the north. We have we risk a brain drain with people leaving the area, moving south to get their education and then staying south. but also we have an elderly population, and in our part we actually need a lot of people because we have a lot of jobs. So we are cooperating in a new project. Talent North, Interreg Aurora approved the project last week, I guess. It's Luleå, Oulu, Tromsø, Bodø, a few other cities, but also the Arctic 6 universities. So it's the LTU, Luleå Technical Universities, connected to the other universities who are a part of this, and also the regional administrational levels. So we are trying to figure out how to get people to want to live in the north, how to make sure the universities can recruit, and also to make sure that people stay in our regions afterwards, so that we have these vibrant cities and development we would like to have. So that's good news, and we're starting up the project now, so we don't really know what it's going to end like, but it's very, very, that's something we really need. And as Julia said, we've been looking in the our AURC project into the attraction and how other cities work with this. And we definitely see that we have the same challenges.
Absolutely. And AMF is also a partner in that project, and our role is going to be to disseminate the results of this work out not only to our other members who are not part of the project as partners formally, but so that they can also engage in some of the workshops and really not keep it really, tight, but also make sure that we're reaching out to others. So Elsa, this comes back to you. Have you heard anything either today or in the research that you've done on this cooperation where you say, I would like to pick that up and bring it back to Tórshavn?
Yes, so many things. Starting off with what Karina just said about being in the outskirts and brain drain. I mean, we are the capital municipality, or Tórshavn is the capital of the Faroe Islands, and in our municipality we're hosting half of our population, and including the university. So there is, and I mean, we are an island nation, quite far away from the mainland Europe, where we historically have been looking a lot south, and for us, it's we have a very big responsibility in creating exactly and continuing to create this vibrant, very exciting city environment for students to study and staying and being a part of changing their community, and so that is one thing that I'm sure we could get direct benefits from the project and also contribute. And I really it hits me quite deep when we're talking about the Arctic and the amount of people living here. And if I take that fact to a climate change context, I would really like to see the strengthening of the local voices in the Arctic in terms of climate. The Arctic is warming far faster than any other area in the world, and being sparse in communities and also in number of people is very important, I think, to connect the voices and speak out as one wherever we can. And so at the moment in Tórshavn municipality, we are planning on starting up a climate citizen council, and I know some of our Arctic mayors forums municipalities have had citizen assemblies as well, and I mean, for me and for us, it would be perfect to make those climate citizen assemblies in other municipalities as well, and connect those results in a combined report, and to the world state this is the climate action that the people of the Arctic want. So there is a that outwards projects that are very interesting, and I have to just at the end add that just yesterday we met a fellow partner, Ulu, that are in a project about bike tourism, an Interreg program that Tórshavn municipality is a part of during Visit Tórshavn, and it just reconciles a lot with Ben was saying about looking north, or where do you look to, and so both cities or places are in a similar situation of many people not really considering biking as a possibility this far and in this cold and this much wind and etc. And so it's very useful for us to partner up with people in the similar situation that are like, yes, we can actually do it if we do it this and this way. And so I find that really, really interesting and very beneficial to meet with people alike.
That's a really great point and a very good example of, I think, some of the things that have been developed through AURC and some of the other projects that we are in. It's about sharing the knowledge so that we don't have to recreate the wheel when you all experience the same, when you have the same challenge. And it saves time and resources when you have that network that you can work around. So we're going to head on to sort of our second part of this panel. Hopefully we don't spend too much time here because I've called it on my prompt card, Hard Truths, the AURC has been a wonderful project. The Commission's very pleased with the results. You're very pleased with the results. But I'm just wondering, what have some of the challenges been? And this leads into our third section, which is going to be how can we improve it or do it differently under AMF. But have there been any barriers to your participation? Maybe it's if you're a smaller, I don't want to say smaller municipality because Summersworth is a huge municipality, but small in number or small in finances, or like what has been a barrier to your participation in this project, if there has been any?
It's okay you say a smaller population. I can only brag about the geographical size. I think some of the challenges is actually participating physical in the conferences or meetings and whatever we have because of the infrastructure. I remember I was invited, I can't remember to what, but something like this, and it would take me like a week to get there because of infrastructure and flight connections in the Arctic are so bad. So that's one of the challenges because besides getting friends and becoming a stronger and better mayor, you actually get to see what kind of solutions they do in other places and not copy them, but you can find a way to translate it to your community. And it gives so much, even though we don't have wildfires in Summersworth. We have other kinds of crises from nature, and then we can start on getting information. And there's just so much that we can work on because even though we are very unlike each other, we have very many similarities, as said before. So that's some of the hurdles. Infrastructure.
Yeah. It takes a long time to get from Nuuk to Fairbanks or Ukjavik, so
everywhere.
Yeah. Who'd like to go next? Karina.
Well, I can continue, and it's more of an internal problem, actually. Many of our municipalities are quite small. I mean, I have staff working with international issues, but we are, like me and Natalia, we are not the ones who need to be convinced. That's the rest of the municipality. And we actually don't really have someone who knows they need to look north. So we have to do a job to like tell the people that you need to go somewhere, and then you have problems with it's far to travel. It's not like you just bump into someone on another day because it's too far. So that is a challenge with the Arctic cooperation, the distances, and also, well, the time zones. It's like, do we have to have meetings at 6 o'clock in the evening? I actually have
Yes.
kids. Yeah, because that's noon at your place. Okay, I get it. But that's basically, it's difficult to arrange practical things about this. But I also have to say, since we're a part of the European Union and we have a lot of European Union founded projects, there's so much reports and you have to know exactly what to do ahead to make the application. And that's actually something quite pleasing with this, because we didn't really know what to report. Because they were like, oh, we're starting a project. And we're like, yeah, what should we do? Travel and learn from each other? And that's so unusual. And that's something I really, that's basically the next question. But we need to keep that, not being able to know ahead what the results should be and be able to make a financial report in 3 years that, yeah, we did this and this and this. Because that's how you do basically every other project within the European Union. And we often, like, okay, we know there's money out there, but we don't really know if we want to do the administrative work to get the money. And that is a challenge in other projects.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see my future. It's reporting. Ben.
Yeah, I mean, you hinted at this, Patty, at the start. It was just capacity. The city of Yellowknife, we have about 280 some odd employees, which is not a huge amount of people. That's everything. That's, as North Americans, we describe our cities as being responsible for dumps, dogs, and ditches. But that's everything from, parks, roads, water and sewer systems, pick your poison on every other issue that is just basic local infrastructure, and that's just under 300 employees. So, the benefits of this are huge, but the responsibility of engaging is equally significant. And so, our former mayor, Rebecca, and because of, I've lived in Ireland, I've worked on many EU projects in a past life before moving back to Yellowknife. So I have that innate connection and, interest in this type of work and cross-border work. But that is always the thing, is how do we maintain this so that regardless of who may ever be in this seat, they have that same passion, and we build that capacity within the municipality, which is sort of off the corner of somebody's desk. And they're happy to do it and engaged. And, it's great to see, as Karina was just describing, it's great to see other people slowly starting to see the benefits of this work in their work. And, oh, okay, you've learned that. Well, maybe on my issue, I can learn something over here. So it's good to see that, but that's been the challenge, is just having that capacity at all within the structure of the city to take on this additional work.
Absolutely. And I remember we were talking with Rebecca. We were approached by another very large international organization to do resilience studies. And she said, sure, you can come, but my fire chief, like the person who does resilience is also my fire chief, and like that person is also this person. So if you're going to come and do this in my city, they need to bring everybody with them, because we don't have the capacity to spend the 10 hours or 12 hours in that week to provide things that you can find on the website, right? And, that's the kind of frank reporting or the frank input that we need from mayors when we're getting into these large projects. But what is actually needed? I think it's also interesting, the link between like the infrastructure, how do we get around, and then how do we advocate what we're doing, right? Julia?
Yeah, from the administrative perspective, I agree that it's not us that should be convinced that international cooperation is important. We know that. And this is actually the challenge. When you come back home after 3-4 days on the study trip, and you have to, at the best, maybe use 1 hour of the people's time to retell the whole story of what you've learned, it's so unfair. So, I mean, that we kind of started a little bit inside the project with this +1, when you can bring an expert with you on the trip. And I think this is, again, coming back to the building of the capacity, inspiring more people at the local level, at the municipal level, building their knowledge, building their habit of looking across the borders and not necessarily just internally. This is one point. And also another one, of course, connected to the capacity, is it was so liberating, like you said, to have these project managers doing this work for us, like organizing the trips, booking the tickets, arranging everything. So you come to this, to the table which is ready for you. And it was in our busy lives, and also again being just maybe one person at the municipality, it's such a luxury, and we really appreciate that, and it is so important. And it saved us a lot of time. I think I will speak on behalf of all my administrative colleagues here. So I think that this is really important on our way to the Arctic Mayors Forum, and when you guys take over, or we guys take over this project, that we should strengthen this function of project management and process management, and the secretariat support, because we are all really squeezed with our hours and resources in the smaller municipalities.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. We have noted that and are hoping that we will continue that negotiation. Ben, I want to come back to you just for a minute, because one of the study visits that was really, really cool and very meaningful was to Yellowknife, where there was a lot of discussion about Indigenous participation, Indigenous governance in Canada, and how you navigate that, and as part of the reconciliation process, which we know is going on in Sweden, Finland, Norway. I mean, Greenland is in the heart of this conversation in a very big way. But why is it important that we have that discussion at this table and other tables moving forward?
It's not just important, it's the whole game. If you don't have meaningful relationships with the Indigenous communities on whose land you live, how do you do anything? How do you engage in any meaningful conversation about how you develop land for housing, never mind potential mining opportunities that are on their land and what the benefit agreements are to them? How do you have any sort of conversation about security and sovereignty without their buy-in? And so the relationship between the City of Yellowknife and the Yellowknife's Dene First Nation and the Clicho government, as well as the North Slave Métis Alliance, they're everything in all of our work all the time, from the start of every meeting with our land acknowledgement through every piece of work we do, of asking how have they been engaged, how have they worked alongside of us. It's the whole thing. And one of the challenges that we as municipality of the City of Yellowknife have had is building that relationship over the past several years, because that wasn't always seen that way. And so creating a new relationship is a really important part of the discussion, and seeing the evolution in how Yellowknifers are willing to engage in that conversation. Specifically around the fact, when I took over as mayor last May, the first email I sent after I was appointed by my colleagues was to the chiefs of the Yellowknife's Dene First Nation and the Clicho, because it was I'm in this role, but how are we going to work together? And on your terms, not mine. And every time we meet, I highlight the fact they're nations, I'm a municipality. So we may be the bigger government in many ways in terms of population and finances. Well, finances up front in terms of like what's in our budget. In terms of greater finances, they have access to capital that the City of Yellowknife would never have. So how do we then work together for the benefit of their citizens and residents and the residents of Yellowknife? And so it's not a question of if or how, it's a question of you must, and how does it work for them first and foremost. Secondarily, what's the spin-offs that we can have as a municipality?
And I think the things that Canada and Yellowknife are doing in terms of that context of reconciliation, because that's really what this is all about, is really important. And those lessons are being shared across borders in that north to north context. And we heard Her Excellency Mary Simon talk about that again and again this week. So you'll notice in all of her speeches that it really all comes back to reconciliation. And in her words, reconciliation is about getting to know each other better.
One, she's a powerhouse. And the thing that she highlights as Governor General, and in all of her life before that, but since she's been Governor General, is that reconciliation is not a thing to do. It is forever. It's a forever task, and it's a responsibility of everybody. It's not any one person or one organization's responsibility. It's all of our jobs as Canadians, whether you're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, and it's forever. And so that's one thing to get people's heads around, is that this is not a tick box exercise. This is a everyday in your soul. I mean, you can see I get emotional about this because it's that intangible, tangible that you have to do.
Absolutely. I guess, AURC, you may have some thoughts on this conversation, but we could leave that for another time. Thank you for that. I think that what we take away from this sort of hard truth section is that we need to continue to work at many different levels to make sure that our cooperation can continue, and that one of the things that we hope to do in the next phase of this project is to really think about the advocacy and how we can get the results out and how we can share more of the learnings so that Julia maybe gets more than an hour in her municipality. We're going to move on now to the third part of our conversation, which is what this might look like under the Arctic Mayors Forum. So the current project, which is called the Arctic Urban Regional Cooperation Project, will end in September, and we are currently in negotiations with the Commission to establish a process for it to come under the Arctic Mayors Forum. For an additional 4 years, we will have some funding from the Commission. And what we're really hoping to do is to strengthen the capacity of the Arctic Mayors Forum Secretariat and our own network so that we can continue to sort of institutionalize a lot of these things in our cooperation. So, AURC, I'm going to turn to you first as our chair because you're really championing this work that we're doing. And I'd like to hear from you why you think it's important that this activity does come under AMF. And in 2027, when you hand over the chairship to Sweden, where do you hope we are in this?
I think it's important because it strengthens our municipalities. It strengthens our communities, and that's the short answer. But also, like, to have this forum and to be able to get some real knowledge out of the forums is everything. But what you heard the other mayors also talk. You said it several times, the former mayor who were a part of this, and then you hear that the next mayor is also a part of this good friendship group. You can hear it relies on the organization, it relies on the forum and not the individuals. The knowledge doesn't get lost just because one person's go away, and it continues, and we're able to have this continuement because we are a forum and not relied on individuals, even though we really rely on you. But yeah.
I'm looking forward to the institutional capacity building, absolutely, because there is a lot of knowledge that we need to kind of keep somewhere so that the next person who comes in actually can pick up where we've left off. One of the great things about this new structure that we're going to be implementing is that it's not going to be cohort-based. So all of our Arctic Mayors Forum members will have the opportunity to participate in our working groups. And Elsa, that means that you don't have to apply to be part of it. You are just automatically in it to win it. And I would like to ask you, we haven't decided on the themes of these working groups or anything. That will be a consultative process with everyone. But you mentioned climate action. I'm wondering if there's anything more you would like to say on that in particular, or what are some of the other themes that you really think that AMF should be working on in the next couple of years and pulling into this new structure?
I mean, the work that has been done already has been important, to say at least. strengthening the voices of the youth as a core principle of the Arctic Mayors Forum is crucial. And there are possibilities in continuing working on what's good and in a different way, and continuing doing it also as we get hopefully more municipalities joining the forum. I think my team and I, we are very inspired to do more work on resilience, and it's a key message I would like to take back home, and resilience it's so many things, as we spoke on yesterday, but in our municipality, I think resilience in food systems, sustainable food systems that take a stand in the community and the people would be very interesting. I know also that the Arctic Mayors Forum has been working a lot on youth health, and it's something that I would really like to take a part of, and to have further tough conversations about, but also conversations that spark hope on what we can do together to increase the health of our youth. Yeah, I mean, I could continue, but it's a very important question to begin with. What are the first few topics, and not start with too many things? That would be difficult, but that's also why it's important to meet and get a sense of what key issues are relatable with the other municipalities, and I'm sure we'll come up with together good, crucial questions.
Yes, we are, and we do work a lot. You're right. We do work a lot on youth. Not a lot in the current AURC project, but AMF does a lot of work on youth, and it's actually one of the areas where we have really strengthened and deepened our network with other Pan-Arctic organizations, including the Arctic Council. And the Harvard Arctic Initiative, Fulbright Arctic Scholars. So we are very active in that space, and I know that the Government of Canada is very, very focused on youth and youth empowerment, and we're trying to have that conversation about empowerment and wellness, so that it's actually a more accessible conversation to have. That was a side tangent on my part. Ben, what would you sort of like to see as a non-EU member in the AMF, although we're an Arctic organization, so we don't sort of think that way, but what's been important for you, and what do you want to see either maintained or added when it comes under our umbrella?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll pick up on this call out to the Canadian government, trying to do those things. But I think you highlight the fact that, this is backstopped right now by funding from the European Union. Canadian government, several of our cities are a part of it, or our communities, and I'm working on more. But they need to step up as part of that, and we're seeing that in other places within the Canadian context right now, and trying to expand that north to north relationship. So that's one thing. Part of that too is, and I was referencing this yesterday in conversations between ourselves, but again, this work that we're doing here has highlighted to Global Affairs Canada, which is our Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Canada, the value of the municipal level. So they've asked Yellowknife to apply for the first time ever for funding from Global Affairs Canada as part of creating some structure in our national context around what we can learn on infrastructure from each other. And if that application gets approved, we'd be the first municipality in Canada ever to be funded directly by the Foreign Affairs Ministry. So again, that's the one piece. In terms of the project itself, what I would love to see continue is more, and I think, it's perhaps the thing that can go into some of the workshops, Yellowknife experienced, for those of you who don't know, in 2023. Something that I never thought, as I was running for city council in 2022 on active transportation issues, I never thought I'd be calling a local state of emergency and seeing the city evacuate. See, again, still hits you. I'm also known as the crier on council. And they still put me in the job. But it's, it's seeing those, how do we react and learn from each other in terms of emergency? Like AURC, you said yesterday to me, earlier on the panel, we don't have trees. But last night we were talking about what's the biggest thing that I worry about. It's not the forest fires, to be honest with you, even though we evacuated our entire city in 2023. It's a multi-day or week power outage at -35. That's the thing that actually terrifies me. And you've experienced that. So, what are those things that you've gone through that we can learn from each other, from that, the resiliency aspect, and also that I can share with my territorial colleagues, who are the ones responsible for the territorial level infrastructure. So the road, the highway in and out of Yellowknife, the power, power, the hydro dams and the diesel backup generators. What are the things that we can be doing in terms of renewable energy that we already see in Northern Europe, that much of the same as you said you heard in Fairbanks? I hear that a lot too. Well, we can't do that in North. I'm like, have you looked anywhere else in the world? Yes, you can do it in the North. But finding those ways of learning from each other, but building on the resiliency discussions we've already had and seeing that further into the future, I think is so critical for the North, both in terms of the climate, as I look out the window and see the snow and the cold, but also, as Elsa was saying, the climate change. I mean, this I could go on forever, so I won't. But that is so critical to how we think about the infrastructure. For us, it's from forest fires to permafrost to pick your item, and we're facing it in Yellowknife in the north in Canada, and that's so we can learn so much from each other on those pieces.
I like how you said the road in and out of Yellowknife.
It was an experience in 2023 when we had to evacuate 22,000 people down a single highway that is one lane in, one lane out normally, and it was 2 lanes out, fires burning on both sides as you're leaving, and seeing another community that had burned to the ground as you're heading south on a 16-hour drive. It's an experience I hope nobody else has to go through.
Yeah, it was devastating. That's for sure. Karina, or Julie just wants to get in there. So.
Sure.
Go ahead, go for it. What would you like to see sort of continue, or?
Well, the continue is actually where I started, that I like friends. I think we need to continue to meet. We need to continue to have these trips to go and see each other, to learn. And we also need the networks to be wider and than just Julia and Natalia meeting each other. Maybe if we're looking at something special, then we should also involve the people that are experts in our municipalities to go and meet a colleague just living in another continent, but also in the north. So that, I think, is important to keep. We need to continue to meet. When you have met, then you can have contact digitally and send an email or give each other a call, but you actually need to look at each other sometimes. I also think that we should continue working with resilience, preparedness, but also looking into business development. Because one of the things, people actually live in places where they can make a living. So making a living everywhere in the Arctic is actually a strategy to make sure that people can live here in the future. And that's actually how we can protect our countries. So that is important. That means that we need to focus on how to create jobs. And we don't have taxes. That the municipality can hire everyone in the city, and that's not the plan. So we need private businesses. And that, I think, we have a lot to learn from each other also.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My girl in the trenches, what do we need?
It's nice not being a mayor, because I don't have to be visionary as you guys are. I'm gonna be more specific on the structural level, I think, because I think that bringing the Arctic Urban Regional Cooperation Project under the umbrella of Arctic Mayors Forum, it's like a good thing to do. It's a smart thing to do, because by just doing that, we kind of building up the capacity of those organizations that are already in the field and who are already there and have the knowledge and have the experience. So I think in itself, it's a very good thing. And also, like, while we've been working with these topics and trying to develop maybe the work packages, that's what it's going to be called, I guess, under the Arctic Mayors Forum. And I think this is a very good approach because its structures are much better. And I think it makes it easier for us to plan and for you guys to lead. And also that will probably make it also more sustainable in terms when the leadership change comes, because then we kind of all together agreed on the topics that we are working together on. And also having this systematic approach to the topics and work packages, I think it will help also the project to bring more information from the ground up to the political level, to you guys, and give more weight for you to address the issues on an even upper level, shaping the Arctic agenda. So I think that will kind of give more power to you, and at the same time, it will make it easier for you to lead us as well, so that we actually know what we are doing on the ground and sustaining the leadership change, because this is my concern all the time. So I think this is a very smart thing to do. And speaking also about the barriers, and I know that there are some representatives of the European Union in the audience, is like making maybe some financial mechanism which applies to the whole Arctic and not like bits and pieces. Now it's so fragmented, and this is the real example. While I was still working for Arctic Frontiers and we were doing a youth project, we actually had to apply to 4 different programs to make one project happen, like Barents Secretariat covering the Norwegians, then Canadian funds funding the Canadians, and then Nordic funds funding Sweden and Finland, and then Erasmus Plus covering the rest of the Europe. Can you imagine an amount of hours writing all this application and then amount of hours of reporting on all those applications? Why can't we just, and of course, like involving Northern America, like Canada and United States, we have to have funds. Otherwise, it's nice to be friends, but we can't afford doing anything with you guys because just airplane tickets will kill the budget of my municipality. So this is also like, if we really mean that we are doing the circumpolar cooperation, the funds should reflect the idea.
We're cutting off our nose to spite our face because there isn't the capacity to apply. And what we're hoping to do is to use this funding to build our capacity so that it's the snowball effect of leveraging the knowledge, leveraging the capacity, and having it so that at the end of this 4 years, we have the knowledge and the ability to apply for some of those other kinds of fundings. But we need help in the institutions as well.
Just a small comment, because I was attending a session yesterday where the Arctic youth was represented, and they were also being asked the same question: what are the propelling factors, or what are the barriers? And the answers were exactly the same. We don't have the capacity to write the applications, and the applications burden is so huge that sometimes people just don't do that, or they get burned out with all that work. And the young people are not even paid to do that. So it's like, I feel like we are very much, and speaking about the youth focus through the IMF, so it's like we should bear this thought in mind. It applies to us, and it applies even more to the young people doing the projects on their own terms. It's even harder for them. And we are supposed to support them. And we are kind of fully booked from before. So, yeah, that was my comment, including youth.
AURC?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize what you're saying, because I know some of the young people in my community that have attended projects like these that we are talking about. One of them, she's now a member of the parliament in Greenland, and another one, he's an entrepreneur. He runs his own tourism business, and there's another one who has just opened up his own cooking company. And imagine how many more young community leaders we could get if it was just easier to get the fundings. So it just shows that these things really matters. It does really matter for the young people that we are sending out with these fundings, because we aren't able to send them out to projects like the ones we're talking about if we don't get the funding and if we don't know about the funding opportunities. So I just wanted to say that it really does create development and learning, and also new young leaders that are really crucial in the Arctic areas that we are living in.
Absolutely. And the two young people that you mentioned, Nivi Rosing and Casper from Raw Arctic, those of you in the audience, if you aren't familiar with these two individuals, we're happy to share their information because they're very inspiring stories. And one of the things that we are also hoping to do through this funding and some other funding from the Nordic Council of Ministers is to capture some of those stories and to do some community resilience storyboards and things like that. So we really see ourselves as being a hub for this information, for inspiration, and also looking at mechanisms to continue to ask you, who should be coming from your communities as young people, to participate in the things that we are doing. Someone else wanted to say, Sakrina.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges or something we need to do, and Ben is doing is really good, is to get more members into the AMF. Because right now we have a lot of the population in the Arctic is actually a member of the Arctic Mayors Forum, because we have all the bigger cities. And the smaller, but we do not have the majority of the municipalities. So we need to make sure that we are also an organization for the smaller parts of the Arctic. And I think it's like you come from the capitals of your countries, from Greenland, the biggest city, Nuuk, and Torshavn in Faroe Islands. But you have smaller communities. How do we get them into our work? Because we need to make sure that it's not like the cities of Arctic cooperating, but the people of Arctic. So that will be a challenge. How do we make sure that everyone is in on it? And then we all have to talk to our colleagues, because we usually know the mayors in the other cities. Make sure that they become a member to see how they can cooperate. And these municipalities usually do not have someone working with international issues. They will come to these conferences alone, and we are from Luleå 3 or 4 people traveling. That's not the same situation, and that will also change a little bit on how we are supposed to work, actually.
Elsa, do you see opportunities for us to pull in 2 microphones? Do you have do you see opportunities to pull in some of the other municipalities from Torshavn? I'm putting you on the spot now, I realize that.
I mean, there's a competition. I've we have some very successful mayors here in the forum that have been getting new members. That would definitely be something that I would try to do, and also share some stories, some more concrete stories from the forum, and keep sharing the stories of what we're doing. So I would love to see more municipalities from the Faroe Islands. Yes,
We would too. Ben, are you laying down a challenge now? Are you putting any?
I mean, I think they're challenging themselves.
That's great.
It's
That's great.
yeah,
I mean, the more the merrier. One of the things that we, of course, have always said in the AMF is that we want to be representative. So yes, we have, we represent 1.3 million people who call, the North home. That's a lot, considering there's only 4 million people in the Arctic. That's not including, that number includes Russia, but we currently don't have any Russian members for reasons that are already spoken about. But we want to be representative. And what we're not representative of right now, at least in the Canadian and North American context, is the very, very small communities, small Indigenous communities, who also they're not municipalities, they may have tribal leadership or other kinds of community leadership. And we need to be flexible to bring that representation into our conversation.
Well, I think that's actually the interesting thing is in a lot of the North, can cross the
border.
Cross the border of are they a municipality and not. So in Nunavut, where there's a settled the territory, without getting too far into Canadian, but it's a settled land claim, the whole territory. So they are municipalities throughout all of Nunavut. In the Northwest Territories where I live, it's sort of a mix. You have a combination of indigenous lands that aren't municipalities and other places where they sort of have dual responsibilities. And so don't worry, Patty, it's on my list. There's a meeting of all of the municipalities at the end of February, and it is on my list to be talking about this. And Yukon's much the same as the NWT. So it's the opportunities that this has brought, not just from a international perspective, but from the ability for me to talk to my colleagues in the Northwest Territories, like Peter Clarkson, who's the mayor of Inuvik. So one of the reasons Peter and I signed a memorandum of understanding around all of the defense work that's happening in both of our communities. Part of the other reason that we are able to communicate is because we had talked about this type of work, and he became interested in this type of work, which then led to us talking about the defense work that's going on in both of our communities, which then led to us formalizing that relationship. And so it is, the international, it's sometimes the local is always seen as boiling up. This is actually a case too where the international is boiling down to giving reason for us to talk more within our own regions, which is a nice additional benefit.
That is an additional benefit, and hopefully we can also capture that somehow in our application. I will open it up to the floor. We have a few minutes left. Are there any questions that any of you have for our mayors or Julia? Go ahead.
Hi. Thank you. Hi. Yep, that's working. Hi, my name's Kevin. I am an emerging leader from last year, 2025. Really happy to be here. I live in Alaska, and I wanted to kind of ask a question around budgets, because one thing, and I think a lot of our cities and municipalities, et cetera, face this. We are in a budget crisis in the state of Alaska, as a lot of municipalities are, a lot of states are. But the thing is that with these budget crises, you have a public that is more and more skeptical of our public leaders spending money to travel abroad and to go to these types of initiatives. And again, I'm speaking from this Alaska perspective and seeing kind of what is in our news. Our assembly members in the city of Anchorage, for example, only make $60,000 a year, but they work 50 plus hours a week, and they are regularly scrutinized for going and getting these exchanges, especially our mayor as well, Suzanne LaFrance. So I'm wondering how you communicate the importance of this network to the public and garner that support, and making them understand that these international opportunities are just as important. Because I wonder, how can we translate that to what we're doing in Anchorage or in Nukiavik or in Fairbanks during these budget constraint crises where the state isn't giving the money that it used to, the federal government, et cetera. So how do you communicate to the public that this is important versus funding basic necessities that are already under strain?
Great question. Who wants to take it? A couple of them.
Well, that's the challenge, and I usually think that international affairs is only allowed if the main basis services in the municipality works out. Otherwise, they will not have an acceptance of me traveling. But I can also say that we have a friendship cooperation with the Spanish island Gran Canaria. We have a lot of questions about that. No one questions me going to Yellowknife or to. That's not seen as a luxurious travel. Oh, you're going to Tromsø. Oh, you'll be flying for 8 hours. Oh, poor thing. So that's not seen as something I do just for fun. But going south, well, then we have another debate. And on the other side, right now, what's going on, especially, I told so many friends about me going to Nuuk this last summer to visit AURC, and everyone accept that, because in the world situation right now, when the debate is about the North, then it's quite easy also to say that, well, we're a part of the North. When everyone is looking north, don't you want a local voice in this? And everyone's like, yeah, it's probably better than people in Nuuk than only the government knows people in Nuuk. So it's a situation where when people, at least in Sweden, really realize what's going on and the focus on the North. And that makes it easier.
Ben, AURC, Julia.
I'll be quick because I'm much the same as Karina. I mean, the current global context, I think, says a lot about why Yellowknifers see the value in this. As I said at the start, having the Nordic ambassadors want to come to Yellowknife specifically because of what's going on in the world right now. The United States is our neighbor by geography and has been our closest friend. It's a challenging relationship right now, and I think every Canadian sees that, and that's no knock to yourself in Alaska, because I think the relationship between Alaska and Northern Canada is so incredibly close, especially if I go and talk to my fellow neighbor Kirk in Whitehorse. But I think at this moment, it's an easier sell than it probably is at other times because of the fact that we are where we are. And as Karina was saying, like the relationships from knowledge building in emergency planning, in business building, trying to create new relationships from understanding how houses can be built more efficiently. All of these things are very important to Yellowknifers and people in the Northwest Territories. So it's about, when it comes to how do you sell it back home, I think it's about actually showing the tangible connections you're making. If you're going on your jollies, yeah, you're going to have a hard time selling it to people. But when you can, I have to report back every time I go on a trip. I have to make a report to my city council of where I was, what I was doing, what meetings I had, what I was presenting on, all of those types of things. And that's part of the explaining to Yellowknifers and my colleagues about what the value is. And again, in this moment, I think not many Yellowknifers would see the challenges and why we're having these types of relationships and conversations.
AURC?
Because it's really relevant. It's relevant for us to meet and we get concrete solutions. I've been here and visited Gunnar a couple of years ago, and I learned something about how they deal with young people who are getting into a criminal environment, and that helped us to understand and in what way we could do things. So when I talk about visiting Tromsø or other places, I don't talk about the shopping or whatever we also do, but I talk about what I learn and how we can go further with that knowledge to our communities. But I do actually have a hard time recruiting some of the other mayors because of the economical situations in their municipalities. So I can only say that I think you'll have better luck than me recruiting, but it's relevant. I asked 2 other mayors in Greenland to join, but their economical situation can't allow it, and they can't see themselves in this for now, maybe later.
Julia.
Yeah, I can't agree more from the administrative level as well, because we are under big pressure, and like international relations, it's not the core task of the municipality. So each time the question arrives, what shall we cut? It's so much easier to cut something which you're not obliged to do by law. And so you're like always like feeling this anxiety. So that is one thing. But another thing I wanted to say is that actually being so underfunded, I think it's becoming like a real democratic problem as well. Because we say nothing about us without us, but I actually can't afford to buy a ticket to go to Brussels, to be there where these discussions take place. I can't afford to go to Reykjavik and participate in the conference there because I don't have the funds. We're like cutting everything. We're cutting on toilet paper. That's not a joke. So, and that's what I mean. This is like a serious consequences of this, of all the municipalities in the Arctic being underfunded, is that we actually can't be there where the decisions are made. We can't be there to meet each other. We can't be together to agree on stuff and like front it together. So I think that we should actually think about it in a bigger letters, because it's not that just a question of money. It's actually a question of representation and the question of democracy.
I think that's a really great message to end on, but I'm going to maybe flip it a little bit. So, and just say that I think that what the AURC project has proven, it's really proven what's possible in the Arctic and how important our relationships are, and that together we are truly better. And AMF is going to be what makes this durable and long-lasting in terms of mechanisms, capacity, and continuity. So thank you to the mayors on the panel, the mayors in the room, and also all of your staff that support us every single day. So please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you. Those of you who are going to the science park, quickly rendezvous with Rania and Natalia, and they will take you to the